Hello and welcome to the Postgrad Protocol. Today we are going to be going over the Postgrad Eating Guide. So essentially we're going to be covering what you should be eating, how you should be eating, and exactly how to make it fit around your life now that you're post-graduation going forward. So starting off, we're going to be covering a couple of different frameworks in this guide. We're going to be covering what you should be doing in terms of protein, how you should be structuring it around your everyday life. All the meals and food that I give you shouldn't require any meal prep, and then this is going to be a routine that survives your social life. So starting off, here's a little bit about why I believe that your nutrition fell off after graduation. So in college, you were pretty much walking everywhere. You were walking to the dining hall, you were walking to the gym, you were walking to your classes, and once you graduated, you lost a lot of that. So in college, if you were getting 8 to 10,000 steps a day, post graduation, you're commuting to work, you're sitting at work, you're not moving a whole lot, you're probably getting closer to 4 to 6,000 a day. And that makes a big difference, especially if you're eating the same way. So how you ate in college is not going to be how you're allowed to eat post graduation because you're not getting as much daily movement, which will make the calories that you're allowed to eat a lot less. So getting into this, I'll cover the protein part a little bit later in the guide, but starting off, we're going to be looking to be 80% consistency. So 80% of your meals should be solid, high protein, driven towards your goals, and then 20% of your meals can kind of be comfort food, cheap meals, whatever you want. If we keep this split and we keep this online, it's going to make it a lot easier to progress towards your goals because 100% is just unrealistic, to be honest with you. Next, your weekly grocery bill shouldn't be anything over $50. So with the essentials, you basically just need the bare minimum, and the actual essentials that you need to get in shape shouldn't cost you over $50. The only reason your grocery bill would go above $50 is because you're getting and buying foods that you know probably aren't the best for you. Here are a couple of reasons why I believe that you may start a diet post graduation and things kind of taper off and you aren't able to stay consistent with it. First of all, is your food environment. So you're stocking your own kitchen, your own fridge, and if you're filling it with things like leftover pizza, beer, mac and cheese, burgers, anything like that, once you get home from work and you're dead tired, it's going to make it really easy to make that bad decision. That kind of leads me into the decision fatigue aspect of it. So once you get home from work around 7 p.m., 7 to 9 p.m., your brain is at the lowest energy it's going to be all day. So it just wants an easy, low friction decision, and it will 99% of the time opt for the comfort food, opt for the food that will make it feel better in the moment. And that's what leads to that calorie surplus and you putting on the weight. Next, we have to cover your social eating. So if you're eating out with friends a lot, or if you're eating with your spouse, it can make it a lot more difficult if you don't know how to order, especially when people around you aren't eating the healthiest. It becomes very easy to fall into that way yourself as well. Moving on, your groceries are another big issue. A lot of people seem to overbuy their groceries, so they buy more than they actually need for the week and end up eating all of it because, oh, I don't want to waste money, which I understand. On the flip side, a lot of people end up just going pure delivery because they don't like grocery shopping. So DoorDash, Uber Eats, and they lean on those consistently, especially because you're out of college now and you have a bit more money to splurge on those sort of apps, and that can lead you down a very dark hole very quickly. So I recommend you stay somewhere in the middle between these and actually learn how to grocery shop properly. And then if you need it, or you can use one of your cheat meals to go with the DoorDash or Uber Eats option. Another reason people Uber Eats or DoorDash is they just don't like cooking. And I'm not a big advocate of cooking all your meals, but I do believe that you should have 4 or 5 high protein staples that are easy and you can make pretty quickly that you do know how to cook. You need to know how to cook at least a little bit to hit your goals, but it doesn't have to be something that you do every single night. Here are what I believe to be the 3 rules that kind of eliminate all those issues. So the first and most important is to look to get your protein first thing in the morning. So make it like a daily non-negotiable. Within the first hour and a half, 2 hours of you waking up, try to get 30 to 50 grams of protein in. If you can do this, 1, you'll stay full throughout the day. And once you go to work, you won't have those cravings later on. And 2, it'll give you a jump start on the day. So you're trying to hit your protein goal, say that's 150 grams of protein. If you get 50 within the first 2 hours of the day, that number becomes a lot easier. Next is to design your actual food environment. So that goes back to keeping things in your fridge, keeping things in your kitchen that are actually going to move you towards your goals, and eliminating those foods that you know with a little bit of temptation and maybe a bad day at work, you're very susceptible to succumb to. Once again, we're looking for the 80% consistency, 20%. If you eat 20% cheat meals and the other 80% is really dialed in, you really won't even notice that other 20%. Here we go. So I'll touch on the protein part a little bit more in depth here. So your body weight in pounds is what you should be eating in terms of grams of protein every day. Let me put that a little bit more simple. So if you're 170 pounds, you should be looking to eat 170 grams of protein. That sounds like a lot, and I understand that's not really doable for some people. So you can actually eat 0.7 of your body weight. So if you're 170 pounds, multiply that by 0.7 and try your best to get close to that number, as it will really help you in keeping all the muscle that you currently have and building more muscle in the future as well. Here are some options that you can actually keep in your kitchen that will help you move towards your goals. So in your fridge, things like eggs, Greek yogurt, and fruit of any kind is a really good option. For the freezer, you can do frozen vegetables, frozen chicken breasts, or frozen burger patties, and then things like broccoli, anything that's really you can keep frozen that you can just defrost and is high protein, will move you towards your goal. And then for the pantry, things like canned fish are amazing, super high in protein, super low calories, really easy to go to. Things like protein bar, and then just some seasonings, hot sauce, garlic powder, salt, nothing that you can really snack on too much and load up on. So don't keep chips, don't keep cookies, anything that you know that you're really inclined to just binge on, try to eliminate that from your kitchen. Awesome. So moving on, we're going to be talking about how to properly eat when you're at work. So my recommendation is to bring your own lunch 3 days a week. So if you work 5 days a week, bring your lunch 3 days a week, and then the other 2 days you can do the food court or possibly order to your job. I don't really know what you like to do, but you should be bringing your own lunch 3 days a week. I really recommend things like ground beef and rice, chicken and rice, or some sort of fish and salmon sort of option. That's what I personally do. But you should be bringing your lunch to work 3 times a week at least. And when you do eat out at the food court, wherever you do go, try to go with a high protein option, places that specialize chicken, beef, fish, anywhere with that, anywhere like that you can get a side of white rice or a side of, salad. That can be a good option if you do decide to eat out. And then when that 3 p.m. crash hits in the middle of the day, try to keep either a protein bar or a Greek yogurt cup or something that's high in protein to get you through the rest of the day. So instead of slamming a coffee or an energy drink, go with something that's high in protein, as that will keep you full and kind of give you the energy to finish out your workday. Moving on, we're going to be talking about if you do decide to go out to drink, because obviously if you're an adult, you might want to go out and drink, whether it be on the weekends, Thirsty Thursday. So here's kind of my recommendations for that. You want to eat before you go out every single time, preferably a high protein meal, but you need to eat a meal just in general 100%. You have to do this before you go out, because what's going to happen if you don't is you're going to drink a ton, be feeling tipsy, be feeling drunk, be feeling nice, and then you're gonna go to a drive-through spot where you're gonna eat something afterwards that's gonna completely wipe out all your progress for the day and wipe out your deficit. So make sure that you have a high protein meal before you go out to drink. A great way to do this is to build all your meals if you do go out, or before you go out, around some sort of egg source. So meat and eggs, ground beef and eggs, chicken and eggs, anything around eggs with a meat source in it is a great option. Moving on, we're going to be talking about the reality of alcohol. So usual drink has around 100 calories, 450 calories for a drink, and it's very easy to drink 1,500 calories in one night. I've done it before, you've probably done it before. You'd be surprised how quick they add up. So my recommendation would be to drink 1 water, 1 drink, 1 water, 1 drink, 1 water, 1 drink. This is the best approach that you can do because 1, it won't get you absolutely hammered instantly, and 2, it'll slow down your drinking enough with the water so you won't consume those extra calories. Another tip is after you go out, when you come back home, I don't care if you're blacked out, I don't care if you're hammered, try to get 1 tall glass of water before you go to sleep because this will make your recovery for the next morning way easier. Alrighty, so when it comes to counting calories and tracking your macros, it's not something that you have to do forever. To be honest, you need 1 solid week of tracking. So 1 week where you either take a picture of everything that you eat, write down everything that you eat, or just look at everything that you eat and make a mental note of how much you're eating and the actual food that you're eating. Once you do that for a week, you'll build the skills and you'll have a pretty solid understanding of how much you're eating, how much protein you're eating, how many calories you're eating. And once you do that for 1 week, you're going to have a good understanding of how much you should be eating going forward and what you need to change. So the way that you eat is going to differentiate a little bit based on your goals. So if you're looking to lose fat, you should be eating 300 to 500 calories below your maintenance. So if you know you burn 2,500 calories every single day, you should be looking to eat 22 to 2,000 calories every day to help you lose that fat while keeping your protein high. And same thing if you're looking to build muscle, you should be looking to eat, if your maintenance is 2,500, looking to eat 27 to even 2,800 calories every single day with that high protein that will put you in a surplus and help you put on muscle. And last but not least, we're just going to talk about some core pillars that you should have going forward. So like I mentioned earlier, you should have that daily non-negotiable. I recommend 50 grams of protein within the first 2 hours you wake up. This is going to set you up for success. And no matter what's going on in your life, no matter how bad you feel, no matter how bad your week at work was the last week, if you can make it a daily non-negotiable to get 50 grams of protein within your first 2 hours of waking up, you're going to be set up for success, and hitting that daily protein number is going to be much easier. Next, I recommend every Sunday to actually write out what you need in terms of groceries for the week. So write out, okay, I need more ground beef, I need more chicken. And if you do that consistently and you say, okay, I know I'm going grocery shopping on a Tuesday. On Sunday, I'm going to write out every single thing that I need and make sure that I have it going forward. And then once again, when eating out, make sure that you're obviously ordering high protein meals, but also a big thing is don't drink normal soda or like juices or drinks or anything that has calories in it. Pretty much your only options when you go out should be either diet soda or water. That's pretty much it. Your drink should have 0 calories because that will save you, oh my goodness, an extra 200-300 calories. And that's the difference between being in a deficit and actually losing weight and being in a surplus and gaining weight. And here's the last point that I really want to harp on and go in depth on because it's one of the last things I'm going to speak about. The reset rule. This is a massive one. So if you hear anything from this entire guide, pay attention to this. 1 bad meal doesn't mean it's a bad day. 1 bad day doesn't mean you have to have a bad week. 1 bad week doesn't mean you have to have a bad month. You're going to slip up. It's, inevitable. You're going to have a bad meal. You're going to overeat for a day. You have to move past that without guilt and shame and just move to the next meal, because every meal is a fresh start. So if you're able to just completely wipe it from your memory, have a short-term memory about it, and get back on track with the next meal, that's going to pay dividends down the line. The problem becomes when you harp on a meal for too long and you're like, I messed up today. I might as well just screw it for the rest of the week. Like, who cares? I already messed up, so what's the point? No, that is the wrong approach to take. If you mess up a meal, you mess up a meal. Get back on track with the next meal. Every meal is a fresh start. All right, so that's pretty much what I have. I really appreciate you watching this video. The next step for you would be to go to my landing page, which I'll link below, and schedule a one-on-one plan building Zoom. So we'll plan out a specific plan exactly for your situation. So revolving around your work schedule, your social life, your relationships, anything that you may have going on in your life, we'll build a plan specifically for you. And then if you are interested in working with me to one-on-one directly, we can discuss that further in the call. But aside from that, I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope that I was able to provide some value. And above all else, God bless.